We're ready to start. Thank you very much for joining the session today. My name is Melanie Millard, and I will be talking to you today about how I've flipped my classroom using Quizlet challenges and all of the Quizlet tools and features in order to improve my students' study skills, which in turn improves their assessment scores. I was so inspired already today with the first session that we just heard, and thinking about Quizlet's, what's coming in Quizlet's near future, and especially the conversation about student engagement that is really the focus of Quizlet, and how we as teachers really are the ones that are engaging our students every day with the content that Quizlet has on it. So here we go. There we go. All right. So during the 30-minute presentation today, I will first tell you more about myself. Second, I will explain how I use the Quizlet tools for homework assignments to teach my students effective study habits. And third, I will teach you how to create Quizlet challenges that you can use during class time to engage students and to model effective study strategies. First, let me tell you more about myself. I have 20 years of teaching experience in both Spanish and German. I also have two sons, ages 9 and 12. I've been a Spanish teacher at Scarsdale Middle School in New York since 2001. I've taught at the high school level and the elementary level briefly, with my primary teaching level being the middle levels, grades 6 and 8. I'm also a professional development trainer in my district, where I've provided training on Quizlet and gamifying the classroom, as well as a variety of other topics. You can find me on Quizlet, Twitter, email, and on the Scarsdale Schools website. Please reach out to me in the future. I'd first like to talk to you about how I teach study skills using Quizlet. Quizlet makes it easy to teach study skills to students. I still remember the days of having students study using index cards and creating their own flashcards. That's how I learned Spanish and German as well. Now Quizlet has made studying so much easier and I believe more effective. I started out using Quizlet for vocabulary words only with my students and have found it to be effective in teaching grammar concepts as well. With Quizlet's new diagram tool, there are even more possibilities of what can be learned using Quizlet. I've created over 200 sets on Quizlet and can't imagine teaching without it. I used to tell students to study and would tell them to study 1 or 2 days before a test or a quiz. And that's all I would say. Now I have my students studying at home using Quizlet and in class using Quizlet challenges and Quizlet Live. They start studying on the first day of the chapter, which helps them with their long-term retention of the vocabulary and grammar that they are learning. I model to them how to study effectively. I'm clear and specific on what I want them to study. I believe this is an important skill to teach, not only in a world language class, but in all subject areas and at all grade levels. In a recent article by Edutopia entitled How Metacognition Boosts Learning, the article states, to close the gap between what your students know and what will be on a test, encourage them to quiz themselves instead of just rereading and highlighting a text. It also states strategies that target students' metacognition, the ability to think about thinking, can close a gap that some students experience between how prepared they feel for a test and how prepared they actually are. I believe Quizlet can help students with their own metacognitive skills on learning and studying. When students say they've studied for a quiz or test but have gotten a lower score than they've wanted, I'll talk to them about how they've studied and work with them on studying more effectively. Since using Quizlet and nightly homeworks, I've had a decrease in students saying this. I emphasize that how they study is really the key to successful studying. I'll go through with you now the homework assignments that I give throughout a chapter. I assign a specific Quizlet tool every night to my students, starting on the first day of a new chapter and ending on the last day of the chapter before the test. Here's an example of a nightly homework assignment on Google Classroom. I post the assignment with a link to Quizlet. To check the assignment, I either check on the Quizlet Classroom progress mode, or I have students show me on their device that they completed the assignment with their student account, or I have them take a screenshot of the task completion that then is printed out, emailed, or shared on Google Docs. I vary how they show me depending on what the assignment is, and if I can see that they completed it or not on the Quizlet Classroom progress mode. There are 3 studying levels and types of assignments that I give through the Quizlet tools for each of these levels. I will go through these levels with you and take you through all of the Quizlet tools that can be used at each of these levels. First are the Quizlet homework assignments given out during the beginning level. These would be during the first third of the chapter. Second are the Quizlet homework assignments given out during the advanced level. These would be given during the second third of the chapter. And third are the Quizlet homework assignments given out during the mastery level. These would be during the last third of the chapter. I'll go through each of the levels now and what the assignments are from day 1 of a chapter to the end of a chapter, going through each of the levels. Level 1, beginning. Students start by doing the learn. They look at the new Spanish word, phrase, sentence, or expression and flip to the definition, translation, and/or picture. They go through all of the cards in the set that way. Next, students go to the learn again. This time, they reverse the card and look at the definition, picture, translation, and flip the card to look at the new Spanish word, phrase, sentence, or expression. They go through all of the cards in the set. The next homework assignment is to go to match for the set and keep doing it until the student completes the match in 30.0 seconds or less. This time can be adjusted based on how much reading on each card is involved. Generally, 30 seconds means they probably will need to keep redoing the match at least a few times before getting 30 seconds or less. You may need to test it out with your students to figure out what the time limit is that's best for a given set. You want it to be a challenging time limit, but not impossible. The next homework assignment is taking a test where students put into the options all of them except for right. I usually have them set the question limit at 10 or 15 questions, depending on the number of cards in a set. They need to keep taking the set until they receive a 100% on it. Next, students move into level 2 Quizlet activities. These are more challenging activities that build on their level 1 knowledge of new concepts. First, they complete spell. They listen to the new term and they spell the term. The next homework assignment is completing write by looking at the definition and writing the term. After that, students complete learn, and in the options, they only select written questions, and they write the new term and are shown the definition and the picture. Oops. Now we arrive at the level 3, mastery. These are the most challenging tasks using the Quizlet tools and selecting certain options within the tools to make them more challenging. First, students take a test where the question type is written, the limit is 10, and they answer with the term. The key here is that they need to retake the test until they have received a 100%. This is important as it gets them to focus on mastery and not focus on the amount of time that they've studied. The last assignment in level 3 is gravity. Students are assigned a difficulty level and keep track of their highest scores. They may do gravity for several days for homework and each day try to beat their previous day's score. Those are the three levels of studying that I teach my students and the Quizlet tools that I use for each of the 3 levels. You can vary them and also have some be used in class and as a class activity. The one tool that I didn't mention was Quizlet Live, the favorite Quizlet feature by far by my students. I do use Quizlet Live on a regular basis as well in class throughout the chapter. There are 2 goals accomplished through these Quizlet homework assignments that I give. First, students learn all of the different Quizlet tools available to them and options within the tools. Second, teachers are modeling how to study effectively to master a given topic. So that is how I teach study skills through Quizlet tools, being assigned to complete at home and then checking student progress in either Quizlet Classroom or having students take a screenshot at the end of a task to show me. Now I'd like to switch to the Quizlet challenges that I do with my students in class to also teach and reinforce study skills. Quizlet challenges are a way of gamifying studying. To understand where Quizlet challenges come from, I first want to talk about what gamification is as a framework for the discussion. The definition of gamification, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is the process of adding games or game-like elements to something, such as a task, so as to encourage participation. Before coming up with Quizlet challenges, I first learned these game-like learning principles from the Institute of Play, a nonprofit organization based in New York City. I'm only briefly going to mention them, but you can learn more by going to their website. The game-like learning principles are: everyone is a participant, learning feels like play, everything is interconnected, learning happens by doing, failure is reframed as iteration, feedback is immediate and ongoing, and challenge is constant. These principles are embedded into my Quizlet challenges. I use Quizlet challenges to make the teaching of study skills feel more like a game, using game-like elements. This game-like activity motivates students and teaches them the important skill of perseverance. There are a variety of Quizlet challenges that you can make, and I will be giving 3 examples that demonstrate this variety. I use Quizlet challenges to review at the beginning of the year. I use them to teach new verb conjugations in the middle of the year, and in the middle of a chapter, and I use them to review for a chapter test. My Quizlet challenges range from 1 class period in length to 5 class periods. The levels and the points make these challenges very motivating for students. Students are competing only against themselves and the clock. They are not competing with each other, and in fact, my goal is always to have each of my students complete the challenge. As far as logistics, it is helpful to have the challenge up on a monitor, and each student should have their own device. For all of mine, it's easiest if they have a device with a keyboard. Quizlet challenges can be made for any age student in any subject area. All you need is 1 or more Quizlet sets to create one of your own. Here are the elements that are in each of the Quizlet challenges. First, every challenge has up to 4 levels in it. Each level is harder than the last level in the challenge. I also always have a boss or a bonus level at the end of each challenge. The boss level is not counted for the Quizlet challenge and is a way to give an extra challenge for students that finish with time still remaining for the Quizlet challenge. The boss level is not required for students to complete. Second, students receive points as they complete the levels, and each task each task within the level. The bigger the point values, the more fun it is for them. Third, Quizlet sets are the key part to a Quizlet challenge. You can have 1 Quizlet set or many. There's no limit to the amount of sets included in a Quizlet challenge. Fourth, a Quizlet challenge is created with all of the above and the requirements listed on it. This is usually posted online so that the Quizlet sets listed are links going directly to each Quizlet set. Fifth, each student has a play sheet where the teacher tallies the student's score along the way during the Quizlet challenge. It's handed out at the beginning of class and turned in at the end of class. I always have it copied in a bright color. Lastly, as a way of keeping students focused, I pick 6 21st century skills for students to focus and reflect on during the challenge. This also helps with classroom management. During the challenges, the homework is to study the Quizlet sets. They're available to study at home. Points can only be accumulated during the class time, and I'm the only one that can give out points in class. I also have extra help time that students can come to receive points as well. So I have 3 examples in 3 subject areas. I've taught professional development courses on gamification and my Quizlet challenges, which is where the examples other than my own come from. The first example is a Quizlet challenge for a 4th grade class in June, and it lasted for 1 hour. For this Quizlet challenge, there is the challenge and there is the student play sheet. In the picture, you can see me checking the points of one of the 4th graders, and you can see the student play sheet on the desk next to the computer, where I will write down the points accumulated. In the next slides, I have screenshots of the student play sheet and the Quizlet challenge to show you. So at the beginning of the class, I showed this on the screen to the students. I also sent a link to the students to the Google Doc of the Quizlet challenge that you see on the screen. Each of the Quizlet sets used in this challenge can be accessed by clicking on the name of the set on the Google Doc. That makes it easy to access for the students. These are the instructions that I tell students. You have 1 hour to complete the Quizlet challenge. For level 1, you need to complete the match and the test for each of the multiplication Quizlet sets listed on numbers 1 through 11. You can do the sets in level 1 in any order that you choose. Once you are done with all of level 1, you can move on to level 2. You also need to complete match and test for the one set in level 2. Once you've completed both match and test for levels 1 and 2, you will have 1,200 points and will be done with the challenge. You can then move on to level 3, the bonus level. You need to complete match and test for each of the 3 sets in level 3 as well. If you complete these 3 levels, you will get 1,200 points and 2 stickers for homework passes. Now let's look at the play sheet. This is the student play sheet that is a handout in colored paper sitting next to each student at their desk. At the top are the 2 types of Quizlet tools used for this challenge, match and test. Then there is a chart with the name of each Quizlet set and space to fill in points for match and test as they complete them. During the challenge, I walk around and give out the points to students. They keep adding tabs on the browser, and when I get to them, they show me everything that they have completed at that point. So they may have 2 matches done and 3 tests done by the time I reach them. I would look at them quickly and then give them points on their student play sheet. By the end of this Quizlet challenge, the goal is that each student would complete levels 1 and 2 and has had a great review of the multiplication facts too. When I did this Quizlet challenge, the 4th graders were very excited to get points and loved reaching the end of the challenge. They felt a sense of accomplishment too. The second example that I'll show you today is a Quizlet challenge that takes 4 days in class to complete. It's for my 8th grade Spanish students and is done within the first few weeks of school in September. There are 2 homework assignments during this challenge. First, students need to take written notes for the grammar topics that they need refreshers on. Second, students need to study the Quizlet sets in order to receive the maximum amount of points that they can reach during the Quizlet challenge. This is a much more involved Quizlet challenge with a few additional components to it. I will show you the 4 items listed on this slide as screenshots on the following slides. So the components are 1, the pre-assessment quiz, 2, the pre-assessment evaluation form, 3, the student play sheet, and 4, the Quizlet challenge. I have a picture of a mountain on the slide because I describe how the Quizlet challenge they are about to start will be like climbing a mountain. There will be times when the path is more challenging and times when it's easier, and in the end, all of that hard work will be worth it, just like the work to climb to the top of a mountain is worth it when you see the view. I created this Quizlet challenge in order to have my 8th grade students practice the grammar topics and the vocabulary from 7th grade. I only want them to review what they are not remembering well enough to get off to a strong start in 8th grade. So the first step is for them to complete the pre-assessment quiz. On the quiz, there are 15 topics. Each question, and each of the topics are in the 15 questions. Each question deals with one of the 15 grammar or vocabulary topics that they need to know going into 8th grade Spanish. They take the quiz without any preparation at all, just to see what they know and remember. This is the pre-assessment evaluation form. This is how I score their pre-assessment quiz. In the first column, I give them either 10 points or 0 points for each of the 15 topics or questions from the pre-assessment quiz. I then total the number of points that they receive at the bottom of the first column. The most points that they can receive is 150, and the least is 0. The right column is used at the end of the Quizlet challenge. The next 8 slides are screenshots of the Quizlet challenge. It's a 4-day challenge and has 4 levels and a boss level. The goal is to receive 2,000 points by Friday. Students are given 5 days in class to get points, 4 days in class to get points, and can also come after school to get points as well. They must complete the challenge. If they do by the deadline, they get 100% counted as a quiz grade. If they don't, they continue after the deadline and the late accrued points are cut in half. Level 1, all students need to complete. There are 2 Quizlet sets, and under each set are the 2 steps that they need to complete using the match and the test Quizlet tools. Level 2, students take handwritten notes in their notebooks for the grammar topics that they need to review. Any topics that they didn't receive 10 points for on the pre-assessment evaluation form is what they will take notes on. They complete this level at home by the 3rd day of the challenge in order to receive 100 points. Level 3 is the part of the challenge that is personalized. Each of the 15 topics that they were assessed on with the pre-assessment are all here in Level 3. They already have points on their student play sheets for the topics that they knew on their pre-assessment. So some students start the challenge with points. For each Quizlet set and number, there are 2 steps. Step 1 is either match or write, and step 2 is a test. The first 3 topics of the 15 are on the slide. And these are the next 3 topics. And these are the next 3. And these are the next 3 of the 15, still in level 2. And these are the last 3 topics of the 15 topics they need to know. After students have completed level 3, they move on to level 4. Level 4 has 1 Quizlet set and 2 steps to complete the set involving a match game and a test. Once they've completed level 4, they're done with the challenge and have received 2,000 points. There's an additional optional level which challenges them on the vocabulary from 7th grade. They need to complete a quiz and get 100% in order to receive a homework pass. So on the left side of the screen is the student play sheet, or the front side of the student play sheet. This is what they would have in front of them as they were completing the Quizlet challenge. On this play sheet, I keep track of the students' points as I go around the room and check their progress. I pass out the play sheet at the beginning of each class and recollect it at the end of class. Students have their own copy to mark their progress each day so that they know what they should study that night to prepare for the next day. On the right side of the slide is the 21st century skills that I want students to reflect on. I pick 6 21st century skills that are the most relevant for each Quizlet challenge that they participate in. At the end of each class, students pick 1 21st century skill to reflect on. They need to give examples of how they used that skill or practiced it during class that day. I also make comments, both positive or need improvement, during class time or after class. I found this to help keep them focused in class as I walked around. While this is a long Quizlet challenge, given over the course of 4 days, it's a great one to start the year off with. Students see how their hard work and effort pay off during the challenge. They also get to know me as a teacher on a more one-to-one basis. I have a chance to talk to them each day as I'm going around checking points. I start to build a rapport with them and hope that they see me as somebody that's going to coach them and motivate them along the way to be successful students in my classroom. I also hope the study skills that I'm teaching them in my class will cross over to other classes. One more example for you. This Quizlet challenge was created by a colleague of mine, Brian Corzan, during a class that I taught on gamification. He's allowed me to share it with you today. It's for an 8th grade social studies class. It's completed in a 45-minute class period, and there's 1 Quizlet set used for the challenge. It contains the challenge and the play sheet on 1 Google Doc that can be shared with students. He then tallies their points on a separate spreadsheet. At the top of the screenshot of the Google Doc is the link to the Quizlet set. There are 7 levels to the challenge, with the last level having 2 parts to it. Completing each level gets them 100 points. The last one gets 200 points for completing it. Their goal is to get to 800 points by the end of class. And this is the level 7. Thank you for listening in to this session on how you can flip your classroom using Quizlet challenges. I hope you learned new ways of using all of the amazing Quizlet tools to help teach your students effective study strategies so that they may be successful not only in your class, but throughout their lifelong learning journey. The Quizlet challenges are extremely motivating, and students find them to be a mix of both fun and challenge. Good luck, and please reach out to me with any questions that you may have. I'd love to hear any comments or feedback from you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Melanie. We have a bunch of questions for you about these challenges, including a lot of people saying, wow, this is so impressive. I'm so excited to learn more about this. So thank you so much for sharing. Great. There's a couple of questions here, and this is a really interesting topic that we think about a lot, about sort of equity in education. How do you think about the fact that maybe not all of your students have internet at home or a mobile device? Is that something that is a concern to you? I don't know. Some schools are one-to-one classrooms. Their students can take devices home, but is that something that's come up as you run these programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And also just in general, how, if they can study at home and have that availability or not. Our students in our district generally do have a device at home or a computer at home that they can use. And I guess, I kind of take advantage of that. We are moving towards a one-to-one program starting next year with our 6th graders with iPads. So that'll be a guarantee that they will have devices at home to study with. There are opportunities for students that don't have access at home to use the library before class, before school, during lunch and after school, and also to come during extra help, where I will have devices available for them to study too. So sometimes I'll just have students come in during those times, or they'll go to the library and they'll use the computers. There's also a computer lab available for them, during those times. So that's when they'll, do their studying at home, in school rather than at home. There is the print option too, I guess would be my last comment on that you could, and I have done this too, where you could print out the flashcards for students and have them study at home with the flashcards and actually give them a paper copy. So that might help too, because sometimes it is better and they have more time if they do it at home.
Great. I'm going to ask, can I use the methods that you have done in your Quizlet packet with my students who are not motivated to do well in class, or my special ed students? Have you seen your students do better in your subject? I have 2 students who have dyslexia, and I want to try your method with them.
Yeah, well, the example I gave of the social studies class, Brian Corzan is actually a push-in special ed teacher, and he has found it to be very motivating for students with special needs. And so I would definitely recommend it. Something about the points, especially if you make big points, 2,000 points you saw in my challenge, it just motivates them. And I'm not really sure why. I think it goes back to the gaming idea. I mean, why do students fail at playing video games and they keep dying, but then they keep trying again and trying to win the game? It's kind of like that mentality that they already have from video gaming. So I kind of bring it into the classroom with these points and levels, and then boss level. And, my picture of the mountain, I didn't mention this in the presentation, but I also will have the kids draw a mountain on my chalkboard in the back of the room. And as students complete the challenge, they'll put their name on the top of the mountain. And they're so proud of that when that happens. And like I also mentioned, this is not a matter of who's the first one or the second one. I get everyone to get to the top of the mountain. So either that's during class time, after school, there's no time limit on, there's a time limit as far as the deadline, but anytime during that time, we make a big deal. We clap for the person when they get the 2,000 points, they put their name on the mountain, and it just makes them feel really good about it and accomplished. So I would encourage you to try that. Try this method with them.
Awesome. Great. How much time do we have left?
We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions.
I just wanted to mostly say that we're getting a lot of, they're not questions for you, Melanie, but very thankful teachers who are really excited about what you're doing.
Great.
Yeah, it's been great, and lots of requests to share your contact information and see if they can get access to your slides and materials. So for those of you, one more time, who want to get in touch with Melanie, what's the best way to do that, Melanie?
I would say my email, mmallard@scarsdaleschools.org, and I'd be happy to share with you.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I think that's all we have time for with questions, but it was really great to hear the ways that you're motivating students in your classroom, and those Quizlet challenges are like an amazing resource for teachers to have. So thanks again.
Great. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day. So with that, we're going to take a couple-minute break, but stay tuned for the next session. We're going to have Steve Wick, and he's going to come in and talk about the formative assessments that he uses with Quizlet. He's a science teacher and EdTech pro, and we're really excited to have him talk. So we're going to take a quick minute break, but stay tuned. Thanks, guys.